So, welcome everyone to T-TESS Tech and Me. This is our first Spring Tech Tuesday series that we're going to do. There's going to be two more, so I'll be putting out more information about those as we get closer to those. But today we're starting with Series 1. So I am Lakeisha Pound Smith, in case you don't know me. I'm your district EdTech coordinator. So basically, I'm here to help you obtain and integrate technical tools into your classroom. That is what I'm here for. So if you need assistance at any time with any of those types of things, including applications, y'all have probably seen me respond to some of your applications tickets. Of course, you can submit a ticket on Incident IQ. All right. So today, well, as I stated before, this is part one of the series. So this three-part webinar series will explore how to effectively integrate technology into your teaching practice and to align it with what you already are expected to do in T-TESS. I think a lot of times as teachers, we're just, we're kind of focused on what's happening at the moment. You're like, okay, I'm trying to do classroom management. I'm trying to make sure that I do assessments. I'm trying to make sure I progress monitor. I'm trying to make sure I'm in the zone. There's just so many things that can happen, right, while you're teaching. So in this series, my goal is to help you to realize what you're already really doing well concerning technology integration, and then what are some steps that maybe you can work on, and also get you some T-TESS like bragging rights, right? Some T-TESS bragging points. That's ultimately what this is meant to do. So the session should take about 30 minutes. This one today may take a little less. It just depends. So today's focus is T-TESS planning, domain 1. So in domain 1, that's only just planning, right? Planning. So I called it planning for tech-powered learning. But basically, it's how do I plan and incorporate technology into my planning? How do I think about what I'm about to do in my classroom and incorporate technology into that? So before we get started, I want you to type into the chat, on a scale of 1 to 5, how skilled or prepared are you at integrating technology into your planning? Technology into your planning. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel? 5 being, I am amazing at it. I think I could do this in my sleep. 1 being, not at all. What is a computer? I don't know what that is. I'm just kidding. One being like you're not the best at it. So 3 would be solid, 5 would be amazing, 1 would be, I don't know what a laptop is. All right, so we got a variety of levels. The good thing is, hopefully this will speak to every level. So dimension 1, we're going to start with, we're actually going to walk through all the different parts of the dimension and then talk about how do I get technology into that dimension, right? So dimension 1 of domain 1 is standards and alignment, okay? This means that the teacher designs clear, well-organized, sequential lessons that reflect best practice and align with the standards, right? Ultimately, it's what are you doing and how does it align to the standards, right? So when you actually look at the breakdown on the T-TESS rubric, here are the key points or the key focus points of what they're looking for or what an admin is looking for when they come into your room for Dimension 1.1. So 1, of course, they're looking for aligned goals, standards, and objectives. They're looking for lesson structure, design, and pacing. They're looking for technology integration. The literal words are actually in there. And unfortunately, sometimes when I go to your classrooms, I know that I see technology just sitting to the side or it's an afterthought. So once again, the session is here to help you to make it not an afterthought, like, oh yeah, I could have done that on the laptop. Instead, it will be integrated into your planning, and therefore, when you move into the instruction domain, which is domain 2, it'll be second nature, right? It'll already be there. You'll already have those skills embedded in your lesson plan, and then your students will be used to that, those practices and those routines. Okay. Also, in this domain, in this dimension, there's real world applications, student reflection, and then interdisciplinary. Okay. Remember, we're going to focus on how can we take at least some of these bullet points, these key focus points, and then how can we relate that back to technology and incorporate it in. Okay, so how do I accomplish 1.1 with technology? So some of the ways that you can do this, or I'll start with the first one is your class opener or warm up. I have walked into many classrooms and we still have people who kind of like to use paper, right? We're still doing paper warm ups, which we are a one-to-one district, right? So every single student has a device, right? So this is a great opportunity to utilize those devices. So some ideas for utilizing technology during your warm up would be to post post an agenda or assignments in your Google Classroom. That is super simple, but it's still integrating technology into your classroom, right? Letting the kids know what are we doing and for it not to just be available on the board, but available to them to refer back to. This also helps when you have students who were absent and they come back to you the next day and say, what did we do? Or they come back to you in a week and say, what did we do? And you say, I don't know, because I don't even know what I ate yesterday, right? This will be helpful because then they can refer back to their Google Classroom. Another thing that you can do, and I found this one to be interesting, is for the little ones or people who teach like the smaller children, and you actually have like a morning meeting where you have to do the, days of the week and things like that. Is this presentation. So this one is made in Canva and it's actually an interactive morning meeting presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it and I'll share it with you. So you'll see it's really simple. Starts off with morning meeting. Who came to school today? You can actually put your kiddos' pictures in here, and because they love to tell you who came and did not come. Days of the week. This is actually drag and drop. And then the great thing is you can also pull in your TV into using this, right? So not projecting from your laptop to your TV, but actually pulling this presentation up on your TV and letting the kids, hopefully they can reach because they're probably a little short, but letting the kids go up there with their little finger, click on Monday and drag it over to yesterday was Monday, today is Tuesday, and letting them drag it over. And so that's a way of incorporating technology into your morning meeting, right? Instead of just the I know they're super cute and you spent a lot of money on them and they're probably hanging on your wall and you want to physically have the touch and move, but this gives you the ability to also do the drag and move. And then it teaches the students that skill as well at the same time, the drag and drop. Okay. And then, of course, it does months of the year where you can insert a circle and actually circle what month of the year is it. You can do the same thing for what's the weather today. Also, Canva is really cool. It has a lot of different animations. So each of these little icons, you can come in here and look for an animated rain, animated sun, and that will draw the kiddos' attention even more, right? Because they're like, oh, it's raining, right? You can also insert GIFs. And if you're unfamiliar with how to do any of that, once again, send me a chat, send me an email, send me a ticket, and I will help you. That's another way of just grabbing their attention, keeping their engagement. I'm sure they would love to see this rain moving, the sun moving around, and things of that sort, and to be able to drag a circle over it and choose what is today's weather. Okay, and then it just keeps going. Here's the numbers. Here's letters that you could do different activities with. Here's shapes, colors, and then also even a what comes next activity. So different ways that you can incorporate this into your morning meeting, right? You can literally just, maybe it's a shape review, maybe it's a color review, maybe it's a letter review, maybe it's a number review, maybe you just need to do the basics, who's here today, and days of the week and months of the year. That also works as well, okay? So this template is for you in the presentation. Let me go back to, all you have to do is click right here and then click customize this template, and then it will become yours and you can customize it, okay? So that's one way. And remember, we have a short amount of time, so I can't list every single possible way. But even if you just need a thought partner, you're like, I was thinking about doing this, and you just need a thought partner, I'm here for that too. You can shoot me a message and I can tell you, yes, that would work well, or that's a great idea, or did you consider this instead? Okay. Another way to incorporate technology in for Dimension 1.1 is to utilize your Google Classroom again, right? But to use it for a classroom discussion. This will work really well with older kids because they always want to chat on the stream. They always do. They always do. As a matter of fact, if you don't turn it off when school first starts, you will find that there are lots of chatting. There's lots of chatting in the Google Classroom stream that you did not approve of, right? So this is a way to set those parameters and say, this is what we're discussing, and then have them respond, right? Now, it does take a little classroom management on this part, right? Because some people, some kiddos, they don't, they like the idea of being heard by all of their peers via online, right? And so they may say something silly. So it's definitely a classroom management moment where you could say, here are the parameters. There's no inappropriate comments. You are only responding to this discussion post, etc. With that being said, I do recommend after you use it for discussion, if you choose to use it for discussion, make sure that you turn the feature off afterwards, or the kiddos will just keep posting. It could be like midnight and they're still sending each other messages. That's just what they do. There's no way around it. It's just what they do. Okay, and then of course we have exit tickets, and I've seen this many times. I've seen teachers utilize Google Forms and utilize EdSite as well as an exit ticket. So since exit tickets are already an expectation, one of the easiest ways to track it and to keep and to progress monitor as well is to make sure that it's digital, right? I did come from part of the teaching era where everything was sort of kind of on paper, right? I kind of was in between those eras, right? And it was just a mess trying to take back all these little slips of paper coming back to me, because that's before the district was one-to-one. All these little slips of paper coming back to me, and I'm at home flipping through exit tickets, okay? There's an easier way to do that, right? Utilizing the Google Forms or EdSite, okay? And then also assignments for this one, you can utilize Google Classroom or the curriculum applications. They have built-in features as well, and have the students turn in their final products on Google Classroom or on those curriculum applications. Amplify, McGraw-Hill, Savas, and many of our applications have built-in features where they accept assignments, right? Why not use it? It's already there. And that means, because I know I was an English teacher, so handwriting is important. You being able to brainstorm and think out your ideas is important. You being able to show your work is important. But this, if you are that kind of teacher where you're like, I really need them to write it first, that's perfectly fine. My suggestion would be to make sure that you go back and have them submit their final product online somehow. So even if that's a paper, even if that's the answer to a math problem, have them submit it online. Even if that's a picture of their work, maybe they did a diagram of some sort, a picture, a video of their work, and they're turning it in online, that's still helping them get used to technology, and it's still helping you succeed at Dimension 1.1 by planning to integrate this into your lesson instead of making it an afterthought. Okay, so with that being said, I just talked a lot. Are there any questions about Dimension 1.1 and how to integrate technology? All right, looks like we're good to go. All right, so we will move on to Dimension 1.2. So for Dimension 1.2, the teacher uses formal and informal methods to measure student progress. So in essence, what it's really looking for is formal and informal assessments, progress monitoring, communication, and feedback, right? And then data to inform your own instruction. So integration of technology with this dimension can be accomplished by integrating it on a consistent basis, right? Or integrating applications on a consistent basis that provide you with informal assessments and provide you with formal assessments, as well as allow you to progress monitor and communicate. But the great news is you are probably already doing this. So you just need to make sure that when you're looking at the planning domain overall, because remember the overall domain is planning, that you actually incorporate it into your lesson plan. So as when it's written in there, I use this piece of technology into your actual lesson plan, because I'm guilty of it too, y'all. I did not write what technology I was using. I just wrote what we were going to do. I wrote what we were going to do. I wrote the TEK, okay, the objective. I maybe even did some little points on what activities I was planning on doing, but I did not always specify what technology I was going to use in order to succeed at those particular TEKs, or at those particular activities, right? So the plan is, while you're planning, put it in your plan. There you go. There was a lot of plans, but y'all get the point. Plan, technology, right? Put it in there. In the middle of your plan, put technology. Okay. And then also, the reason why you would do this is to make sure, once again, that it's not an afterthought, right? That it's fully thought out, because sometimes we think, like, this is going to be amazing. And then it turns out it was not, right? It was not. It was not. And you have to pivot, and that's okay, right? But if you plan it out, right, maybe even talk it out with a thought partner, right, a coworker first, like, I think I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to incorporate technology. It makes it easier. The other thing is, when you are consistent with your technology, it becomes routine to the students. It is abundantly obvious to any observer when it is not routine for the students to use their laptops. They can see it every single time, especially when it's, oh, get your laptops, and there's no routine, there's no stability on how to get them, where to get them from. This is my number. There's no routine, right? So make sure, once again, technology is integrated in your lesson plan, it's consistent and routine. But we're specifically talking about 1.2. So 1.2 is dealing mostly with data and assessment, right? So here are different informal assessment tools. I'm not going to go over each one of them for the sake of time, but you have the PowerPoint. And then, of course, once again, if you have specific questions for me, you can always send me a message, right? So Google Forms, of course, is a way to informally assess the students. You can use Socrative or Socrative. People say it differently. You can use that one as well. This one has been really engaging for older students. Quizzes. Normally you want to use that for upper elementary and up. Mentimeter, same thing, kind of maybe upper level and up. Upper elementary and up. Kahoot, all ages, right? Look at kind of all ages. So all of these are informal ways of gauging whether your students have gotten the content and you're incorporating technology in at the same time, right? The thing is, I go into classrooms, I see these things already. Now, is it actually written in your lesson plan? Are you able to, once you get to the end of the year and you're being not judged, but you're being assessed, you're being assessed on domain 4, are you able to bring all of this back around and say, these are the tools that I used in these particular domains, right? So it's about making sure that you can go back and brag about the good things that I've been seeing in your classroom already, right? Some of y'all do this second nature, so it may seem like it's not a big deal, but it is. And ultimately, it helps our kiddos become more engaged in the lesson as well. All right, formal assessments. This is super easy because we do formal assessments all year. MAP testing, DMAC district tests, campus-based unit test, right? We do those all year, and you are told when to do them. So those are simple, right? Where it gets a little bit more sticky is maybe if someone did not provide you with your formal assessment, that's where it gets a little, wonky, right? So maybe like kindergarten doesn't have like a curricular writer, right, for them for a particular thing, right? That doesn't mean that you just well, I don't need to formally assess them because they didn't give me an assessment, right? No, that's not what that means, right? That means that you still need to assess them in some sort of way, right? To make sure that they progress and to make sure that you can check their progress throughout the year. So there's different ways to do that. I've seen a few campuses who have chosen to use EdSite. I've seen Google Forms. And then also, once again, our curriculum applications have tests built into them. They have unit tests, or like where you'll get to a certain point within the lessons and they'll stop and have those students assess, right? Those can be used as formal assessments as well, and even in the absence of some of these other tests being written for you. Okay, so just keep that in mind for formal assessment. And then I put, let's communicate on this one, because part of this is not just progress monitoring, not just testing the kids, right? I put, what's a test without communicating progress? Students can't do better if they don't know what they did before, if that makes sense. Like, I can't do better on what you're assessing me on if I don't know how I did before. So one of our recommended tools, our district recommended tools for communicating digitally with not only just the students, but with the parents would be Google Classroom, Class Dojo, and then Remind 101. But that one may be kind of going away because I believe we're looking forward to getting the high school version or the older kids version of Class Dojo, right? But this is what we have right now. Yes, you do have access to quizzes. You just sign up for a free account. Yes, free teacher account. Good question. Okay, and so remember, the key is to include these on a consistent basis and to make sure that you document it. That's the whole plan. Make sure that you include these on a consistent basis and that you document it. Okay, are there any questions about 1.2? All right, so we'll move on to dimension 1.3. This one is knowledge of students. So in my teacher brain, this is the more like touchy-feely part of teaching, right? It's just getting to know your students. But one of the ways that you can incorporate technology into this part is where it says diverse learning for strengths and gaps, right? Adjustment to students' needs. So we have specific programs that we have incorporated into Jubilee that do this for you, right? So that you don't necessarily have to stress so much about this dimension. Now, on the teacher end, there are some things that you would need to do, and that would be to make sure that you're tracking those students' progress in those different platforms. So that way you can bring that back up to your evaluator, how your students have grown in these different platforms. So this is going to sound very familiar to you. And you're probably sick of hearing probably Zern from me, but I'm going to say it again. So Zern is one, Mathia, IXL. I've seen lots and lots and lots of IXL. And then Amplify Boost, I believe we only have that kinder through second, but we do have it, right? So these are platforms that are tailored towards meeting the students where they're at and then moving them forward, right? So that helps diversify that learning for them. I just want to throw in this little tidbit before we move on to the next one. One of the ways to incorporate these platforms is to not massively throw all the students on it, which I have seen a lot of. I know we got to get our minutes in and things like that. But a better way would be to use those blended learning techniques and to do small groups, right? Or do centers, do stations, whatever you need to call it to make your kids like it more, right? So that way they know that this is the technology center where I'm working on differentiation. I'm working on me in this center right here. So that would be more beneficial than throwing everyone on it at one time. Also, that means when you pull that small group to you, you can actually look into these different platforms and see how they're doing. There are, I believe it's Zern or Mathia actually has, I think it's Zern, has tower alerts, right? So it has alerts that on the teacher end, you are actually supposed to go back in and look into and to help your students with what they're struggling in that concept. And so that just helps you reinforce the concept. And then it also helps you so that before they get to a major assessment, they've already received that help from both a platform and from you. Okay. Are there any questions about Dimension 1.3? Yes, you can use Khan Academy. I think that was in one of my tech tips earlier this year too, was Khan Academy. Mhm. And Khan Academy is really awesome for giving tutoring and things in areas that the students are struggling in as well. So that can also be honestly just another station or another center where you give them the lesson that they need. Okay, so next dimension and the last one, teacher plans, this is activities. So teacher plans engaging, flexible lessons that encourage higher order thinking, persistence, and achievement. So the key words here are really just higher order thinking skills, also roles and responsibilities, but also grouping. Grouping is major. So if you are currently always having whole group lessons, in dimension 1.4, that is your that's not going to work. It's not going to work because they are specifically looking for grouping of students. Okay, now how can we do this with technology? This list is a little bit longer, but I'll go through it quickly. So inquiry and higher order thinking skills, for those, you can utilize Google Slides or Canva Whiteboard, and you can use it as a digital wonder wall where the students post questions, resources, and connect ideas, right? So it's basically building a digital resource bank for your students, right, that they can refer back to. Okay. Another way is to encourage higher order thinking or inquiry is to do research or project-based work using sites such as Google Earth or Google Arts and Culture and things like that to allow student exploration and inquiry. Okay. You can also use Google Sheets. I would have never thought about this because I'm not an Excel or Google Sheets kind of person. I don't like formulas and stuff. I taught English, so that answers that question, right? But Google Sheets can be used to push higher order thinking, right? Knowing those formulas and calculations that goes into actually creating tables and charts that function and analyze data, that encourages higher order thinking. We're very used to paper and pencil when it comes to certain calculations and things like that, or just using the calculator, right? But how cool would it be to actually have your students translate that into a Google Sheet, right? And to have them analyze real world data, right? To analyze them, have them analyze the data of like a store, right? An imaginary store that they made up. I don't know. Or maybe you get some real data from somewhere, right? But that pushes them to think beyond just 2 plus 2, very basic stuff, right? That pushes them to think beyond just those simple things, right? So Google Sheets is another tool. Another tool, and this one I really liked because once again I was an English teacher, is Book Creator, which did not exist when I was teaching. So there was that. Book Creator, or you can use any digital storytelling tools. And these platforms allow students to craft narratives, develop characters. Character development is very important, right? In English classes, right? But you can also utilize it for topics such as social studies, right? To delve deeper on an existing historical figure and create something based upon that, right? All of that encourages higher order thinking, right? To think about something like, how would Martin Luther King Jr. function in today's society, right? What would be his impact today if he was alive today, born in this era, right? So things like that can push their thinking so that they can go beyond what they're used to, right? And then also there's the FET interactive simulations, and there's several different sites that do this, but this one is free, and where they can explore complex systems and manipulate variables to see effects. So it's kind of like a 3D modeling simulation tool that helps them to look at things in different ways. So that would be great, a great tool for science. For group work and accountability, using Google Workspace for any of that works. So Google Workspace includes docs, slides, form, it includes everything. Literally, you can use anything that allows them to collaborate and put them on the same thing together, right? I probably could also put Cami on here where they can collaborate in a space together. And that helps with this dimension as well. Goal setting and reflection. Google Classroom, you can set up individual goals or use a questions feature for reflection pops, so they can reflect upon their work and what they've done already. And then also there are some teachers who also utilize Seesaw as well to build out digital portfolios and allow the students to reflect and get feedback that way. Okay, so that is it for all the dimensions of domain 1. Right. And before you leave, please, please, please make sure that you have signed in. Make sure that you select it today. It is the 28th day of January, and the session was about T-TESS planning. T-TESS planning. That's what we were working on today. Right. And if you have done that already, thank you so much. Thank y'all for staying after school with me. Y'all have a great and amazing week.